I just was like that.
Been going into the gray area. You've been helping evacuate refugees.
Behind you, 100 meters is the Ukrainian checkpoint, and then 100 meters in front of you is the Russian checkpoint. Like both sides can see you, and you're standing on the middle of a blown up bridge.
Thanks, Vitaly.
Bombs are going off. I have Vitaly sitting blacked out, eating spam next to my ear out of a can.
You in Ukraine, and we responsible for your life.
You feel like it's your country. I was feeling more home in Ukraine than back home. Like,
How do you feel in that moment? I mean, how do you stay calm, or do you stay calm?
Not hurting any babushkas, and then also not running into the checkpoints, exploding like 50 meters away, and then you hear and feel the shockwave like afterwards.
I remember I saw the lights, but just like I often say, it's in the worst moments that you meet the best person. You see the real kindness of people, generosity, and there is no like fake friends and fake people.
Here's our conversation about experiences in Kharkiv and Zaporizhia and throughout Ukraine and life in wartime. Enjoy. Good evening. Joe Lindsley talking to you from Lviv, Ukraine, and Anton, Hutyriak from Stry, Ukraine, not far from Lviv. And we have amazing guests and great friends tonight. They call themselves the Hero Society, a Hero Society Ukraine. It's a consortium of Ukrainians, a Canadian, and a Frenchman. We have Vitaly, a native son of Kharkiv, from the neighborhood of Saltivka, which has taken a pounding every single day and night since February 24th. We'll talk about his home neighborhood, which we all visited together very recently. And Sophie, you guys are speaking from your hometown of Zaporizhia. You are in a place where you've heard, I mean, even last night, you thought you all might die. You're at the very southern edge of the city where the Russians are lobbing missiles. And so at any moment, you could have to run to a shelter. We have Alex, the Canadian. We'll talk about your amazing driving skills, except for some incident with JP's finger. I mean, to your left there. But Alex, Canadian in Ukraine, and JB, a French veteran of the French military, volunteering in Ukraine. And here's our conversation about experiences in Kharkiv and Zaporizhia and throughout Ukraine and life in wartime. Enjoy.
My name is Vitaly. I'm a part of team here society. I'm from Kharkiv, but sorry for my English.
It's great English, man.
Hi everyone, my name is Sofi. I'm from Zaporizhia, and I'm also part of Hero Society here in Ukraine.
Hi, so I'm Alex Na. Along with Sophia, I'm one of the co-founders of Hero Society Ukraine. I guess I would say the lead volunteer here for our registered charity Hero Society Ukraine here. And I'm from Canada. I've been in Ukraine since mid-April, so 5 months to 6 months. I don't know. I have a degree in math, but I kind of suck at adding stuff up. So mid-April, and yeah, start out in Lviv. I met JB next to me and also Vitaly in Lviv in a shelter there that Vitaly and JB were working out of for about a month or two before I had met them there. And I spent a lot of time with them, and so we've been working together ever since then, and things have led us to Zaporizhia and Kharkiv. So now our team has been living out of Zaporizhia, but then spending a lot of our work time also in the Kharkiv Oblast.
Hi, so I'm JB from France, and so like Alex say, we met in Lviv in March or April, I guess.
April.
So I came in Ukraine early March, just after the war began, and I work in a shelter with Vitaly and did some convoy with some organization, and finally met Alex, I decided to join Hero Society and to stay with this organization.
Vitaly, you cannot say you don't want. You're speaking from a secret location. Is that right?
Yes, I'm in special location in.
Great. Vitaly is speaking from Idaho, I think, and I guess it was last week. Anton and I were in Kharkiv representing our Ukrainian Freedom News team, and you guys graciously showed us around. Vitaly, you grew up in North Saltivka, which is this neighborhood of Kharkiv, huge neighborhood that has been taking shelling from the Russians every single day and night since February 24th. It was hell. We saw the place where you grew up. Most of it in rubble. You pointed out the cafe where you used to go after football games, completely destroyed. And while you're showing us around, the shells are coming down. You can hear, bombs going off in the distance, and it was a terrible reality to behold. But as we left the center of Kharkiv, Alex was our chauffeur, and you picked us up in this great big white van. And I was trying to estimate how fast you were driving, Alex, because there's no rules or police, in the edge of the free world.
No.
Was it 90 miles an hour sometimes?
Maybe in the city I'm not going that fast, but probably that, like, I don't know, I'm Canadian, so it's kilometers, but
There were moments when the rest of us.
I broke his finger. We were going fast enough, so.
Okay, this is evidence. Thank you, JB.
I like the part when the driver was like, "Hey guys, do you see that?" Yeah, and I thought that we all gonna die, but yeah, we're still alive here with you guys, and now we have this wonderful show. So
while those of us in the back of the van are trying to hold on with no seats and helmets and various apparatus flying about, and also trying to film what we're seeing, Alex would have some story to tell, like a tour guide on a double-decker coach in London, but the tour guide's usually not driving. But in the war zone, Alex is driving, and I estimated almost 100 miles an hour. Also, there's many unmanned barricades on the highway. So there's a lot of barriers on the road, and Alex would just turn around to make eye contact, which I appreciate right now, but not when you're driving. I would turn around and like, "Hey guys," and at one point you turned around and you said, "Now," and you were smiling and laughing because it is the emotions are so strange, and you turn around and it was like you see your life flash before your eyes. You turn around and you're like, "Now we're going into hell," like Jack Nicklaus, and I was just like, Could you please turn your head toward the road, because we're going 100 miles an hour, but we need some comic relief. But as we're going further and further into that, the situation is indeed becoming more hellacious, and thank you for bringing us to that, because we wanted to bring our American audience to that reality. But it was so JP, the broken finger. It shows that. It is indeed a wild ride, but since we saw you guys, a lot of things have happened, of course, and there's been the Ukrainians have liberated much of the Kharkiv region. Different estimates but some estimates, the official number is like 5 times the size of the city of Chicago, like a huge area. You have been going into the gray area. You've been helping evacuate refugees from occupied Russian, the land that the Russians have occupied. You've been in very dangerous places. Where you live in Zaporizhia, I mean, and Alex, you've texted me and said, "Oh, I thought I was going to die last night."
Oh, we were going to die last night.
Again, jeez.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you've been very close to shelling, and I want to talk about all that, but I really want to know, like you said, and you wrote me a couple of days ago, as we're hearing the news right before we heard the news of the liberation of much of Kharkiv region and Izum, you guys were there. What happened? What's your story?
So I guess, the day after we had been with you guys, we I don't know if it was the same day or the day after, but we went and met up with the World Central Kitchen in Kharkiv just we hadn't talked to them yet. Like we've been working with them out of Zaporizhia, but it's kind of like they have different like hubs that are kind of self-managed in a way. And so we hadn't talked to them yet. And then we had connected with them and then also connected with our partner American organization, which is like quite similar to ours, Task Force Yankee. And we work with them directly like quite often. And we had actually introduced them to Kharkiv as well. So we had brought them on one of our missions, and they actually helped us deliver like a bunch of food into some of those areas that we were with you. And so when we went back to Zaporizhia, they stayed in Kharkiv and met a bunch of other people as well. And since we have a good relationship and we trust each other, they're like, well, we're doing the weekly evacuation, which has changed now, of course, because the corridor isn't there anymore because it's been liberated around it. But we had participated in a mass evacuation that was happening on a weekly basis. So there was like loose agreements with Russia and then whoever to allow that corridor to happen. And then we did the frontline deliveries with Kharkiv World Central Kitchen, or for World Central Kitchen Kharkiv. And so we did that like all during that counteroffensive. Like we didn't know it was going to turn out like that. Like we didn't know that Ukraine was going to absolutely devastate Russia and they're going to fall apart. But we were there while it was happening. But yeah, it was weird.
You are amid these battles that are happening. I mean, do you hear constant activity?
It's like once you like get out to that close to the front, you don't really see the military, because if you see the military, then they're going to get killed, right? Either they're in a trench somewhere, or if it's artillery, they're in hiding. That like you see tank tracks everywhere and everything.
MVs.
Yeah, but so we saw like military stuff like further out, but when we got very, very close to Izium, the only thing we saw were medevacs, so like camouflaged like ambulances taking out injured soldiers and stuff. Other than that, like you don't see the soldiers, you hear the bombings and stuff, but that's like mortar fire. So like when we're the closest we got to Izium, a bomb, mortar, or short range artillery, because we're that close, right? That they hit our position that we were at 5 minutes earlier, and we also had to drive past it 5 minutes after because we were on our way out. But knowing how some Ukrainians are with how slow they are with doing certain things, that we had to stay behind an extra 5 minutes. And
wait, is this a reference to a particular person or
a particular people?
But maybe they saved your life.
That's what I'm saying. Thank God, because the timing was right. We were far enough away that we were okay. And we had to drive past it again through the smoke and the smell of gunpowder on our way out. And if we would have left 5 minutes earlier or had lollygagged 5 minutes behind, there's 2 chances that we could have been killed there. And thankfully we weren't.
You know, Joe, I think it's a very useful skill to drive so fast until you driving so fast to the enemy territory and you don't know it because like your Google map showed you the wrong road. So maybe sometimes it's good to drive not so fast so that you can understand that you're driving in the wrong direction.
We met a person who made these deliveries before us, but he has a small van with low capacity.
He'd probably have to make the trip like 4 times over the course of a week, where when we were there, we were able to just do it in the one day instead. So the first time, like in the Zaporizhia to Kharkiv missions, I thought 100 was the max. And then the week after, I was like, no, let's try 150 this time. And I was like, okay, this is sluggish. And then we started going into the red zones. We're like, no, we need 200 in there. And I'm like, holy shit, like, okay. And like, then it's like, you can't even drive uphill anymore and the brakes aren't working anymore. And then when we went outside Izium, they're like, no, we need 250 this time. And it's like the food is like falling over onto you and stuff. And it's like crazy.
I've seen that too. I mean, Ukrainians, so many road trips I've been on during the war, people pack everything you can imagine because they don't want anyone to be left without, you know?
Yeah.
And if you could have an extra shoe or vest or something, you know, it makes a difference. So it's food that you were bringing food to these places and evacuating people, or
So it was separate instances. So the food is for people that are still living in those areas. And then the evacuation that was occurring through the humanitarian corridor is for people leaving leaving Russian occupied territory. So like where you have to go, like you pick them up is behind you 100 meters is a Ukrainian checkpoint. And none of the people have guns here, like on both sides, because it's loosely agreed upon. And then 100 meters in front of you is the Russian checkpoint. Like both sides can see you, and you're standing on the middle of a blown up bridge, and there's like landmines everywhere. Like I'm driving on a blown up bridge with like 30 landmines a foot to the right of my tires and stuff. And then you have to pick up people. And like I said, Russians are on one side and they can see you, and Ukrainians are behind you and they can see you.
and you see the Russians.
Like if you had binoculars, you probably could, but like they'd stay far enough like hidden that I couldn't see them, but they were there.
How do you feel in that moment? I mean, how do you stay calm, or do you stay calm? You're between the free world and the evil. The whole thing the world is talking about. You're there in the middle. How does that feel?
Well, I'm not thinking about too much other than because like all the people you're transporting are like 90 years old. There's injured people too that need medical help and stuff. So I'm not even thinking about it really. I'm thinking about not driving over landmines, not hurting any babushkas, and then also not running into the checkpoints. Because one of the times, yeah, like I'm driving through that, the checkpoints are so crazy, like that they're the width of the van. And I actually ran into one of them like with soldiers in it, and I'm like, oh shit! Like I held up the line for a bit because I crashed into the checkpoints, and all the soldiers looked at me, and I'm like, shit, sorry. I had to back up and stuff with all this crazy shit going on. It's like that moment, I'm like, Alex, just drive perfect now. Like, don't think about anything else. Get out. So I don't know. I didn't really have any emotions until like I started getting more comfortable with it and like whatnot. And then I start talking with the people a bit, and it's like a mixed bag of emotions. Like that day was a total of 600 people like evacuated, and we probably had 100 different people in our van throughout the day, because that's like a big team effort. And
So you would go back multiple times to the same place every day.
yes, yeah. Like so that's happened. This specific evacuation was happening every Monday, and then there's a bunch of different volunteers that are willing to do it, that like go under the coordination of like another organization that coordinates with like the authorities that let them up to that point. Because you have to, in order to go up to the like this close to the red line, you have to have like you have to legally be able to go that close, because like they're not just going to let anyone go over there, right? But yeah, I just wanted to say one thing about the emotions of it, because like it's so weird in that moment. Like a lot of it's really sad, and then at the same time people are happy. So some people that are coming through, they have their one suitcase that they're throwing in with their kid, and they're just crying their eyes out because like and the people that leave, none of the young men can leave. The only men that are allowed to leave are like 80 plus years old. Like the people are so old that like you think you could accidentally kill them by like driving. Like that day I was still driving fast, but like not as fast as other people are too. Like that day I was only going like 85 miles an hour. But like it's crazy, man. Like, and people, like I said, it's so hard to put into words, I guess. Like I keep scrambling for words, but mixed bag of emotions. Mothers crying their eyes out with their kids, throwing in their one suitcase. Some people are like so happy, like, holy shit, I'm finally out of this shithole, right? Like am I allowed to swear, right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like, yes, we're back in Ukraine. Like some of them are maybe crying tears of joy, but some, like a lot are definitely like, it's like the worst time in their life. Absolutely. Like nothing beats it, right?
But concerning to the emotions, I think so. Here is like a moment where you just try not to keep those things too complicated. You are just living in a moment, you are witnessing what's happening, and maybe that's all you can do at this point, because you cannot reflect on that while you just witnessing all of this. So maybe that's a part of this, how like war looks like in those moments. Not complicated, not romanticized, just witnessed in a moment.
Yeah, and it just kind of chips away at you over time where like, yeah, when you're like in the moment working on mission, trying not to die, trying not to hurt the people you're helping, like I said, specifically in those evacuations. But then when you're driving home, then you start thinking about it, all the people you're seeing crying, all the people you talk to and everything that I'll probably never see again. But it's just like it just chips away at you. Like it's just, and that's just one day of all the stuff that we've done so far and are going to continue doing. It's just, yeah, like sometimes you sit down and it'll hit you. And but yeah, like you said, and even how Vitaly explains going back to do work in Kharkiv, it's like when you're in the moment there, it doesn't, you don't, your brain doesn't register it right at the moment. You just see it.
And I saw Vitaly when we went to. You took us to where you grew up, to your flat, and you and JB were trying to go up the rubble. It looks like at any point, if you took the wrong step, everything could come crashing down. And you know, you're always cheerful. Yeah, you were laughing a bit, but it's got to be incredibly horrible and painful and sad. You know, and to I mean, I can't even. There's no. It's really hard to say what is the emotion to see this. You know, it doesn't seem real. You never could have imagined this ever happening. And so maybe part of that is like when you guys call you're the hero society, and you're able to go into this every day because you keep your sense of humor.
This is to another planet, North Saltivka before war and after. Absolutely, because I know in this place every people, every meter, every places. I have 1,000 stories. Now for me it is just some, I don't know, art object. Is not place for living.
That was, I mean, as I said, when I was talking from the radios, doing the radio show live there, and people wrote in emails the next day to the station, and they were all. And Anton, thanks. You said make sure I mentioned Saltivka, so people know the name of this place. But people wrote in emails and notes saying, "Wow, this is the first time they heard terror or fear in my voice since every day that I've been doing the radio since February 29th or whatever." And I wanted them to. I wanted to bring people. You know, it's harder in the radio, I guess, but I wanted to bring people to the emotions of that place. And so I'm glad that they heard that fear. And I talked about the next day, I talked about you guys and how all of you maintain your sense of humor. I talked about the way Vitaly is always telling jokes and his laughter. And afterward, people wrote in and they were crying when they heard that. That idea that you can be laughing in this time is what made them cry the most.
I'll try and explain it. Like I've been here for 6 months. I've met thousands of people who've lost everything. I met JB and Vitaly in a shelter that Vitaly he became a top volunteer there, but he came there as a displaced person because that place in the first month of the war was like a death sentence if you stayed there. Like we went there and it still gets bombed often, and you heard the fighting that happens right outside of it and bombs everywhere. But at the first month or two, it was like getting pounded, and like if you stayed there,
you mean Saltivka?
Yeah, like everyone left. Like it was only like fighting there, and everyone had left. And Vitaly took his family out of the country, and he hasn't seen them. So he just talks to them, and he hasn't seen them since day one, right? And I met him in Lviv as an IDP, and JB lived in that shelter and volunteered there and helped fund it for pretty much the whole first 3 months of the war. And we're used to hell now, I guess. And like you said, like, I guess maybe, yeah, there is our sense of humor that tries to help us keep going. But I say it all the time though, like I am fucking tired, and I'd say we are all fucking really tired of it. But you can't just cry all the time, right? But there are times where it's randomly will hit me when there'll just be a moment of registration in my brain. Like one of the things I always think about is like here in Zaporizhia, like all the IDPs of people leaving Donbass, Kherson, and Zaporizhia comes through Zaporizhia. And every time you go there, and like if I drop off aid or I talk to the volunteers, like it's always just like that place is soul crushing to go there. And like I try and stay happy while I'm there, but when I go home, it like almost always hits me because like you just go in there and it's just people crying, people haven't slept in days, haven't eaten or anything. The place needs to ration coffee, so you get your one ticket to get like a little teaspoon of instant coffee and stuff, and then they get shuttled off somewhere else and they don't even give a shit where they go. They just want to get the fuck out. Like they're like, just take me west, just get me out of here, let me find a country to go to. They don't even know where they're going, and it's just these deaths. I don't know
Pizdats is Russian for horrible shit.
I don't even know what it really translates to, but I know it's a good word to use in a lot of situations.
Yeah, you cannot translate that.
It's just, yeah, that's it.
Anton, how would you say that in Ukrainian?
Pizdats.
Thanks, Vitaly.
How do you say it?
Sure.
Pizdats.
Oh wow! So it's in a more light version in Ukrainian language we say трясся. Sometimes we saying like трясся, like light version and much shorter. But if we use this word fully, we would say трясся твоей матери. Materi. Yeah.
You can guess. We have one more little guess.
Yeah.
Very brave cat, Gypsy.
Except for when the bombs drop, then she's not so brave.
But you can't find her, and she's delaying your trip to the shelter.
No, we had to leave her behind. But when I came back up to check on JB and grab the phones, it was like pretty sad because I looked under the bed. I saw she was way far back, and I was like, "Fuck, that's sad." But I couldn't even grab her in that moment. I knew I still had.
So scared. Yeah. Well, Gypsy, stay strong. And
now she's calm and born.
Yeah.
Last week when Anton and I were pulling into Zaporizhia, you texted me, Alex, and said you thought you were going to die. A horrible night. Can you all describe a bit of that?
I'll describe it briefly, and then I'll pass it and they can all explain their experience. But we were just sitting, hanging out, and it's also like an hour after I pretty much told off a bunch of people back in Canada. So we're like sitting there bullshitting about it. And I was on the phone with my mom talking about stuff from back home. I don't even remember what now. And we're all kind of in a good mood. And then all of a sudden, bang, bang, like really, really, really fucking loud right outside of our apartment, like very loud. And it's instantly like, don't even have time to grab anything or anything. I was like, get the fuck out, get the fuck in the hallway. Like, cause like these are Soviet apartments, so they're like still 3 feet wide, reinforced concrete, and like inside the hallway is like the shelter. So it's like, get the fuck out there, go to the ground floor, and just go. And JB wanted to record it, so he's like, "No, go on, go without me, go." I'm like, "No, let's fucking go." He's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, I'm not dying." And then I ran out downstairs too. And then she had and we didn't have our phones or anything. I'm like, shit, I need to get something. I need the keys and my phone. Sophie stayed downstairs and I came back upstairs, grabbed the phone and stuff.
Wait, and the whole time is this constant shelling and noise?
No, there was 4 total missiles, and it was like they're fucking big fucking missiles, man. Like, so they're called. It was later released that it was S-300 missiles, and they're like hypersonic with like max speed of Mach 8. So like you literally see the explosion. It's so fast that you don't hear it until like a second after. So it's just like bang, like so loud. So like what was the payload? Like over 120 kilograms per missile. 150 kilograms of explosive material inside these missiles, like humongous fast traveling missiles, and like on our doorstep.
We got like kind of experience hearing bombs all the time here in outskirts of Zaporizhia. We just grab ourselves, no time to think about closing the apartment, getting a cat because she ran away, hiding behind the couch. So I don't even have my phone. I had a sleepers, so I just like stepped in the sleepers and ran away. And Alex was with his bare feet, so we just ran down trying to get JB, but he wouldn't go. He wanted to record this stuff, and then there were more missiles, more bombing, and the only thing that I wanted to do is to call my mom to find out, because her apartment is kind of right next to ours, and I didn't realize where the sound came from. So you're always scared that your relatives, your friends, they got like killed at this time, at this point, or injured. So you always have a hope that they're all right, they're okay. You need to confirm this, and it's pretty much what I wanted from phone.
I manned up and ran upstairs, but I'll pass it off to JB, the crazy frog here.
JB, French veteran of the French army. Yeah. So you've seen some difficult experiences, and now you're in Ukraine. So what was your experience?
The first two missile strike and everything move inside the building, and at this point in my head there was a part of my head saying just go, like they did, but another part of my head said like you need to show people how is it, because every time there is bomb and there is so much stuff, and when you just explain it's not enough, they can't feel it. And I was in my head, I was just thinking, okay, I'm maybe gonna die doing that, it's maybe retard doing that, but I just took my helmet, I took my vest, and I was like, fuck it, I go, I die, I don't die, and I need to show people how is it. And what I remember is like the two missiles strike first, and Alex and Sophie like went out very quick. And something I remember is like there was a baby crying in the other apartment. Like you can hear it on the video I took, and like you could hear the baby crying so much, and just the mother waking up and just trying to, like she was trying to calm the baby, and I was like, fuck, there is a baby in the other apartment and they can't never do anything. And so I just was crawling on the floor and just went to the balcony, and I just took my phone, and I was under, like my head was just like here, there was a wall, I was hiding and just putting my phone on top and watching through my phone. And I don't know how to explain. It's like it's a big Soviet building, like you say, and the balcony is supposed to be like a big Soviet balcony, so like a big stuff. And when the shockwave strikes the balcony, in my head I was like on the whole wood chair. It was like that I was thinking I'm not gonna die from the missile, but just from the balcony falling. Like it was shaking so much. And I remember even better so there was 3 missiles, and the fourth one was like I remember I saw the lights, but like the shockwave come few seconds after. So I saw the light, and I knew that in 3-4 seconds there will be another shockwave. So I just was like that, and like, okay, that's it. Maybe I'm gonna die in 3 seconds. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. I was happy to record that and being alive and to actually show people and say, look, that's just sometimes every day for some people. I wanted to show that it's crazy, but for some people it's just a normal night.
Yeah, like one thing I want to add to that blows me away about it is, man, most of the Ukrainians that are in our apartment didn't even leave their hotel or their flats like we did to go into the hallway where it's more safe. They all woke up, that's for sure. And they, like you said, the crying baby, people trying to scramble and calm down. But like people here that like have been living through it, like I've been here for 6 months now, and Sophie's and Vitaly have been here forever. But like people here, they're like so used to it. They're just stay in bed. And it's like, if we die, we die. They're not going to let them get stressed out enough by it that they don't even go to the shelters or anything. They'll just stay in their flat because that's life now. And that's like something I realized. And like at this point, if these people aren't like, the only more dangerous it gets than that is getting your building directly hit and you get killed. And it's like when it's the level lower than that of danger, and that's what happened. They didn't even leave their flats. It's like, holy shit, this is weird, man. It's crazy.
You don't know if it's your building that will get hit, and these, because you're so close in southern part of Zaporizhia city to the front. For such a night, was there a Provichina Trevoha? Was there an air alarm
about
for this or this?
After.
Yeah, it's always like 10 minutes
after.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
These, like I said, those missiles are being launched like maybe 30 kilometers away from us, and they can travel 8 times the speed of sound. So it's like
I say, I saw the light before the sound.
Yeah, we see the explosion before the sound, like, and it's right there. Like it's like now I can kind of understand what going faster than the speed of sound is. Because like you see it, and it's just like so crazy to think of an object traveling that fast, exploding like 50 meters away, and then you hear and feel the shockwave like afterwards. And you typically, if you shoot a gun or blow something up, it's just like bang, you see it, it all happens at once. But it's like traveling so fast with so much like vicious like energy, and then like the shockwave and the sound follows right. Like it takes a while. Like it's so crazy, even though it's so close. It's like, I don't know. It's like hard to fathom, but now I can kind of understand it after like experience and seeing.
I mean, it's like you feel it like it's 5 meters from you. You don't, even it's like 500 meters. When you see it, you just feel it's literally 10 meters from you, and you're gonna die. That's it.
How do you prepare for this? I mean, like right now, it could happen at any moment, right? I mean, it's nighttime. It's typically when these. Do you keep your blinds open, or do you keep the blackout curtain? Is it
the blackout curtains have to be blacked out, and they were blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
Like
so
I
you
said,
can't see.
Like I said, we usually typically are supposed to have a go bag, and I try and reinforce that, but you forget all the time, and my shit's laying everywhere, especially with what had happened with some ex-colleagues. So I'd like put my like medical equipment in some place that I didn't think like I would usually have it prepared, right? But in that moment, I'd change stuff around to prepare for certain things. And so then the armor and like helmets and medical stuff was somewhere else that it's not usually. And so in that moment, it's like, get the fuck out or die, right? Like you don't have time to like grab anything. Like I said, no car keys, no phone or anything. Like it happened at midnight. It's when we're like hanging out in a good mood, right? And you don't expect it. And you're at home too. Like you're still comfortable here. Like we're still in the same apartment that just happened in, but it's like, I don't know. It's weird, man. I don't know how to explain it.
And maybe JB, maybe we can share some of that footage you took with your putting yourself at risk. What a question on the and then I'll let Anton ask a question. But when you were doing the extractions of the Ukrainians from Russian occupied Ukrainian territory, are there any people going the other way? Are there any people going?
There's a funny story about that, but it's like,
can I tell it?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to tell it because I'm like Ukrainian coordinator on the radio all during the vacation, and you hear like different stuff. over the radio. So at the beginning of this evacuation, I heard Ukrainians started like screaming, explain to everyone, there is no way back. Like, we're not drivers, we're not Uber drivers here. You should like go one way. We're not driving you back. We're not letting you go through this corridor back, because it's like you in Ukraine and we're responsible for your life. Explain it to everyone. And people just started screaming like, you should explain this to people who getting evacuated. And there is many different stories, like people who wants to go back to pick up their like more stuff, or some relatives to meet relatives, because you still have family there on occupied territories, and many people have husbands there and like children's and stuff like this. And probably Alex want to tell you the funniest story.
So it's like, yeah, so what happened that day is like some like very, very old woman, babushka, showed up with her like, very young grandchild and wanted to go on a vacation in the other side, because her son or something is over there and can't leave, because like I said, young males can't leave. Like Russia won't let the men that aren't like on their deathbeds essentially leave. And so she wanted to go on a vacation to go see her son with her grandchild, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're nuts. Like, no. And it was just like, holy shit. Like I don't know, the babushkas and dadushkas, like, they really don't give a shit. Like, you saw who lives there in hell, right? Like, it's all people in their 80s, and like they don't care.
There were some younger people we saw in Saltivka, very few, but mainly, yeah, it was the babusas and the dushka, the grandmothers and the grandfathers. And as we were leaving Saltivka, Vitaly's neighborhood, his homeland, there was the one grandmother, and she seemed to be friendly. She was smiling and waving, but then she said to y'all, "Where's my chocolate?"
Yeah.
You forgot to
bring. It was her birthday the day before, and we came back later because we had went and got some aid for them too, like because we didn't come with aid that day, so we came back the next day, and I went and bought her 2 boxes of chocolate, and then she's like, "No, I just wanted one small one. You bring all this stuff." I'm like, I don't know. Here you go.
And I know people have different opinions of it, but I think they have an underlying, I mean, because they went through Soviet times and all the other shit, an underlying bravery that in some ways they're kind of helping to hold the front there by their presence.
I would like to add that many people don't understand that they can just go back. And we had the same story with the driver, Pan Ihor, who drive us with Joe to the east of Donbass. He told the story that he also evacuates people, and when he evacuated a couple, their hometown was occupied, and after that this couple wanted to return, and everybody was, wow, they just crazy. They basically don't get it, that they can't do it. And I don't know how you can't like understand it. Like it's so simple, but still people plays with fire, because they can easily die there, and that's all. I think that's kind of a problem we need to solve somehow, to explain people, to articulate it right, so that you cannot do this shit, because people actually has a responsibility for your life, and those people who might drive you, they also might die because of you.
And then a different topic, but kind of connected to that, is, and you look at, for example, JB and Alex, you came here to volunteer. Alex, you've been here, correct, you both have been here nonstop since March, more or less,
so
right?
He went back after, so he made sure to not overstay. I'm overstaying technically now. So I've been here since mid-April. I don't know if that's 5 or 6 months. And so he was here for 3 months. And
Extra months.
yeah, and then he went back for 3 months to fit the like proper non-visa stay, and then came back.
So, and
Essentially.
this is a very different story from the Babusa trying to go back, but there is some, you know, like JB, you left Ukraine, and but then what, you know, you like I almost got, I don't know, I had some argument with some official, and I almost was sent away. And for a moment, I said, "Oh, it's a free pass. You know, I don't have to feel guilty about leaving." But I don't want to leave. And I just talked with two American girls who are volunteering here, and they both left for a little while, and they couldn't continue with their lives. They had to come back. And so, what when you went back to France, what was the attitude? Like, did you think, "Oh, I'm outside of this horrible scenario, this bad movie"? Or I need to get back. What brought you back, and what was your mentality?
I had my life and everything before I came to Ukraine. I had my apartment, my girlfriend, my work, and everything. And I left everything to go in Ukraine. To be honest, I was expecting that I will just go back to France, and I was feeling every time that, you know, I just left, but the mission is not over. I was feeling worse in France than in Ukraine.
Well, we were able, like me and Vitaly, like since we're good friends with JB, we're able to lean on him for moral support quite often, honestly. Like we still chatted like quite often while he was in France, and like kept saying, can't wait till you come back. And like it felt like back when it was like the 3 months and 2 months, it felt like it was like forever. It's like, fuck, we just want to see our friend again. Like now he's back. Like back then it felt like ages, but now he's here again.
There's something I remember. It's like I went in Belgium sometimes see my best friend, and he tried to get me in some bars and place to, like, you know, with some music and like having a normal summer. And I remember like people was drinking and dancing, and there was all the music and all people were enjoying. And my friend was telling me, why you seem like you don't enjoy being here. And I guess coming in Ukraine, it just changed my mind in some ways, give me a sense of life. It show me that that's why I love to do. That's why that's what I can do. That's, you know, it's like you understand that you're here for that.
And for context, he had went to Kiev when it was still under siege, and he had went to like Bucha and Irpin like soon after like Russia had pulled out, and had like been there when it still wasn't like cleaned up fully. So, and everyone knows what happened there.
I try to explain to people in Belgium and in France, I try to explain, you know, it's still the war in Ukraine, and people were like, yeah, but it's 3-4 months now. No one care anymore. Like you feel it, like it's your country. I was feeling more home in Ukraine than back home. When you save all these people, and when you every morning you wake up and you just think, oh, how much people I will help, how much people I will meet. Those 3 months, 3 first months I had in Ukraine, it was more stories and crazy stuff than in 3 years. And a lot of bad moments and bad memories. But like I often say, it's in the worst moments that you meet the best person. You see the real kindness of people, generosity, and there is no like fake friends and fake people. It's all true, and it's all.
JB, in Irpin and Kyiv, what were you doing in those early weeks of the war?
So when I came first in Ukraine, I came to this shelter. Like it was like between 1-2 weeks after the war start, and it was not even a shelter. It was just a theater. They just move all the bench, and there was just big package. And the girl managing the shelter, we came and we said, can we just stay a night? And after we go somewhere else, I was with another French guy that came with me, and we just say, can we just stay a night? And she was, no, you can stay how long you want. We literally put all the bed, and we kind of built the shelter. And just imagine there was like, so me, another guy, 2 or 3 volunteers, this girl, maybe 10 refugees, and 1 month after it was 500 refugees every night coming, and sometimes even more. Sometimes we were full, and it was 600, 700.
And it was cold back then too.
Yeah,
right?
it was crazy, and like 50 volunteers. Sometimes it's became something very big, and at this time there was so much cities going, like being evacuated, all the north region, the east region, the south. I went in Irpin, met a very nice friend, a guy living in Irpin, which we try to understand what the needs in Irpin, because people just go and take pics of the bodies and stuff, but they don't even try to understand what they actually really need, because people still alive, they need food, water, electricity.
Well, we should hear one last story from the famous mayor of Saltivka, Vitaly.
Vitaly. How was it to spend the one night in Saltivka last month when we stayed there for the night? How was that?
One night it was a very cool experience. We meet my friends, and we have how to explain. We have good lunch. It was absolutely independent area, because policemen not go to Saltivka because very afraid. Absolutely.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Not for us. But and it is absolutely another planet with another rules. And we meet our friends who make a renew territory. Alex, to explain this guy.
They clean it up. Like his friends are like volunteering there, and they've been cleaning up the area and also helping look after all the babushkas and dedushkas. And so we stayed in one of their apartments for the night, and Vitaly haven't not been able to hang out with his friends for the past 7 months. They definitely cut loose. they I don't know if Vitaly understands, but you guys partied, that's for sure.
Yes, and Kharkiv bombing is special. At Saltivka, Kharkiv bombing is super special. You hear it by your body.
You feel it. So
Yes,
you were staying in one of the Soviet. You're staying in an apartment building, in a flat.
It's not the usual apartment. It's first apartment from as Alex now. It's his first apartment from Zero Line. It's absolutely what.
And so while you're having, and wait, it was a birthday party, right?
No, that was last week. This was just they hadn't been able to hang out in 7 months type party.
Uh-huh. While this is happening, there's shelling, right? You can obviously, the noise is constant, right?
All night. We had internet still, and we're hanging out, listening to music, watching music videos. They're telling me their Gopnik lifestyle. They're in the Saltivka and all that.
Saltivka.
What do you drink in such a moment?
Yeah, what were you guys drinking? Oh man, they gave me some really food that I thought was so disgusting. They gave it, it's just meat, just eat it, and I ate it. And what was it? Pig ear or something? And I was like, oh, I like tried just chewing it, and then it was in my mouth, and I had my jivchik, like the apple juice, and I just like went away and just like I think I spat out some of it in secret, and then drank the apple juice to wash it down, but. I don't remember what they were drinking. It was like probably vodka or some shit. I don't know. What were you drinking? Do you even remember?
Don't remember. I remember, guys, be very glad to have a guest.
He was so drunk that I woke up at 4 a.m. to him sitting directly beside me, eating a can of Spam in my ear. Like it was like and like bombs are going off. I have Vitaly sitting blacked out eating Spam next to my ear out of a can. Like no, I don't even think you had a fork. I think you were eating with your hands like this out of a can. I was like, I'm too tired for this shit, and I just like I laid down until he finished eating and fell back asleep.
It's army.
It's wartime. You got to eat spam.
Yeah. You and Vitaly just said you're at war.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad that even all the terrible shit, you all have a great capacity to find the humor and to laugh. Even if the humor is sometimes painful, like breaking a finger while getting tossed around.
In our last missions, more risk and danger of have our French agent JB, because firstly they almost break finger, and the second JB have poisonous caterpillar. JB is
Caterpillar.
Yes.
What happened?
Those caterpillars that if you touch them, it can give you a rash, and if you get in your eye, it's like pretty bad. And Vitaly was like starting to play with them, and JB's like, "No, don't do that." Vitaly's like, "Why?" And he explained that to him.
Because we could all die anyway, so why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hero Society. We can still call you. That's what you call it.
Hero Society Ukraine.
Yeah, Hero Society Ukraine, Ukrainian Zaporizhia edition, and Kharkiv.
We're a registered charity, Hero Society Ukraine, here in Ukraine.
And and from your home base in Zaporizhia, you guys have traveled to other. You were in a hotspot, and you traveled to other hotspots. Next time we can talk about our Carpathian sojourn. Now, after having been where you guys are, I understand why you needed the mountain retreat. We had 3 days or whatever of peace and quiet.
I'll never forget what you said, when you go back, take the mountains with you. And I still think about them up here sometimes. And yeah, it's nice. I love the mountains. It's something I try to do when I'm in Canada when I can. I haven't been able to because of multiple different reasons, like COVID, being everywhere and now here, but being able to see the Carpathians and experience that and meet you and your friends and all the good hospitality and just the great fresh air, being out of Zaporizhia air, all the factories and stuff here and the bombings. It was nice, that's for sure.
We can see such people as Hero Society and many other volunteers, and they are really valuable. All of their lives are valuable for Ukraine, but in such a country as Russia, these lives aren't valuable. We can see that environment of Vladimir Putin, they don't care about their soldiers at all. They don't care, but we do care about all of those lives, about the lives who were evacuated and want to go back, but we say no, because their lives on the line, lives of our volunteers, etc. And here's the question: how you can beat the country where you have 142 millions of people, and their lives mean nothing to this power.
Yeah, it goes back to, like, we actually had another interview from Canada earlier today, and they interviewed Sofia, and it's something like I talked about my stuff. They interviewed me too, but when they interviewed Sofia, they asked us the same question. I think is like, the question is, what's the mood with how well the counteroffensive has been going? And Sofia, her answer really struck with me. It's like, yeah, it feels really good, but we as Ukrainians know the price of victory and taking back Ukraine is that we still have to sacrifice our lives, and we lose our family and our friends and our soldiers and the heroes of Ukraine that die for the name of defending freedom and taking back their country. There's a heavy price for that, and that definitely struck a note with me. And then, yeah, like you said, in Russia, they don't give a shit. You get your Lada and you move along, right?
Sophie, Alex, JB, Vitaly, Anton, дуже дякую, and good night. This has been Speak Freely podcast, UkrainianFreedomNews.com, the amazing Hero Society Ukraine. Do Pobachna, good night from Lviv, from secret location we can't mention, from Zaporizhia, Anton from Stry.
Straight.
Good night, all.
Добрый
Good night.
ніч.
Thank you, Joy. Bye.
Na dobranoc, y'all. Peace.
Yeah, добрый ніч.
Добраніч.